Welcome back, drawing buddies, and this week we're gonna draw Velma Dinkley from Scooby-Doo. We're gonna pencil, ink, and color Velma. So, if that sounds like a good time, let's draw. I didn't do a ton of research on Velma. I watched Scooby-Doo as a kid. I watched Scooby-Doo with my son when he was growing up, and I haven't really watched it since. So for this video, I watched the 2002 or 2003 Scooby-Doo movie that was written by James Gunn. It was kind of fun, and I'm glad I revisited that. I saw it in the theaters with my son way back when. Velma, she first appeared in the cartoon Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And the episode What a Night for a Night. And that was 1969, and she was designed by a guy named Owayo Takamoto. And I'm sure I said that wrong, because we all know that I am terrible with names. Now, Velma, she's not really an action character, so I didn't want like a big pose of her jumping and running or swinging at you. I just wanted a good, solid drawing of Velma looking like Velma. And I think I kind of pulled it off. I was kind of inspired by Arthur Adams. You've heard me talk about Art Adams a bunch. I have a couple of his sketchbooks from meeting him at conventions and everything, and every time I do, I pick up his sketchbook for that year, and I don't remember what year it was, but one of them he had like a 2 or 3 page spread of different Velma drawings. Like, man, Art Adams draws a really sweet Velma. He went a little different than I do. He gave her a low-cut sweater, but he didn't like make it overly sexual. He just made her kind of, like a cute nerdy. And I just went with straight up cute nerdy the way she normally is. I just play with her hair a little bit. And so I said, yeah, I'm going to draw Velma. So that's why we're drawing Velma. Because Art Adams subliminally told me to by looking through his sketchbooks. It's not actually true, but it sounds good in my head, so we're going with it. And as I said earlier, I didn't want to over-sexualize Velma because that's not who she is. She's the brainy, smart kid. She's the one who solves the mystery. She's the one who knows all the lore behind what's going on and the best way to find the clues to solve the mystery. So I just went with that. I didn't give her a low-cut sweater. I kept her in her high-neck turtleneck, which I think looks really cool. And we just went for it. And she came out pretty good, I think. The only part of Velma I was really worried about when drawing her was her face, because, I wanted it to look like Velma and not overdo it. And Art Adams did a really good job, and I had a couple pictures of his open while I was drawing it. And while it doesn't look 100% like an Art Adams drawing, I definitely used them for inspiration. And I thought it was going to take forever to get every piece of her face right. I was like, oh man, this is going to suck. I'm going to be... You spend a freaking hour getting her nose right and her eyes and the tilt of the head, and honestly, it went super quick. And I was really surprised. The only thing I had to redraw really was her lips because I wasn't happy with the first mouth I drew. So I just went in and did another one, and it all came together. I think the longest part of this drawing was the coloring, actually. And if you notice a little earlier in the pencils that I broke her body into more sections than I usually do. Usually I just draw a big shape for the body and bend it and do whatever I need to with it, but I decided to do the rib cage midsection and the hip area separately to give me more control over the whole shape and flow of the body. And it's something I used to do all the time, and then I just started saying, I'm just going to draw this kidney bean and go for it. And I think this worked out better, so that's something I'm going to stick to more in the future. Now right here, she kind of looks like a weird plastic doll, but you'll see, she starts looking like Velma in a moment. And yeah, and then the texture of the sweater. I was like, how am I going to do the texture of the sweater? But it came really quick and easy. And everything surprised me. She didn't need a lot to her coloring. She only has like her base colors and a little bit of shading. I didn't get crazy with the highlights or anything because I didn't want Velma to look shiny. She's not in any particular environment. She's just standing there looking Velma. I almost put a hourglass in her hand. But I figured it'd just be kind of silly, her just standing there holding it, and I didn't want to put it in front of her eye, because she already has glasses on, and so I didn't bother with it. It wasn't necessary. But here you go, her face is coming together, and I do apologize It's another thing I was drawing while I was doing something else. I forgot to hit record when I drew the glasses on her face. So we kind of skipped that part, but the important parts of drawing her face are here. So I'm sorry if you really want to know how I drew glasses. I just drew black lines around her eyes. So there's the secret. And it's to see her heads coming together. And it's all looking cool. And then, bam! There she is, glasses and eyeballs. Sorry. I totally should have recorded that or started that over again, but, you know, oops. I did modernize her hair a little bit. At first I had it all flowing out both ways, and then I just, went with a single flat looking bob type thing. They both would have worked, but I like the one that we ended up with better. It just seems more fitting for Velma. For those of you who like the more action type drawings, the Wolverine one next week is, it's not really action, but it's definitely more dynamic and more drama driven with the pose and all that other fun stuff. So, and the lighting, more coloring and shading on him, because he needed it, but she didn't. So you don't always have to follow the same formula for everything too. You give the drawing what it needs, no more, no less. Sometimes more, but it's not necessary all the time. Okay, so the 2002 Scooby-Doo movie, the screenplay was written by James Gunn and a few other people, and I guess he wrote the screenplay for the sequel too, so I guess I should have watched that. He envisioned it would be more kind of edgy and R-rated and more, like pot jokes and stuff, but, the studio's like, Scooby-Doo is kind of a kid's thing, and we want kids to go, so we're gonna PG this thing, or PG-13 it. And that's where they went, and it has a heck of a cast for the time as far as the Mystery Gang. It has Freddie Prinze Jr., he's Fred. I don't really like him that much, but, he was popular at the time. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Buffy, Vampire Slayer, she's Daphne. Matthew Lillard, who I grew to love from Hackers, one of the greatest movies ever made. Too bad I can't really draw anything from that, and anybody would know what the heck I'm doing. Maybe I'll do a Hackers drawing if I ever get enough followers so that even my crappy videos get tons of views and it won't matter. Because hack the planet! Sorry, I got a little carried away there. Anyway, and then Linda Cardinelli, of course I'm saying that wrong. She was Velma, and I thought she was a pretty darn cute Velma. And perfect for the role. I mean, for the time, I can't think of anybody who would have more looked the part than she did. I haven't really seen much more Scooby-Doo after that. I've seen cartoons, because my son liked the old cartoons, and we watched some of the new ones that were on around the same time. And I think there were a few more live-action ones. I just didn't see them. I was going to watch the cartoon Scoob, too. But I didn't get to it, because I just want to hopefully get this done and entertain you folks so I can move on to the next one and entertain you some more. Because sadly, I only have so much time during the week to work on these things, and it limits what I can watch and what I could read and what I could watch to get the information I need to actually talk about this stuff. So, sorry about that. But I am going to watch the second Scooby-Doo now that I know James Gunn did that screenplay too. Also, spoilers, the villain, well, not the villain, the guy who calls Mystery Inc. together, that was Rowan Atkinson. He, Mr. Bean, I forgot he was in the movie. And Isla Fisher rounds out the main cast. She plays Mary Jane, haha, get it, weed pot, who obviously falls for Shaggy, because that's the joke. Although it was weird seeing Isla Fisher as a blonde, because she's a natural redhead. But I guess they didn't want her competing with Daphne, because Daphne is a redhead in the movie, and well, actually she's more of a brunette in the TV show, I think. But anyway, she's a redhead in the movie, and Velma is obviously a brunette, so they went with a blonde for Mary Jane to round out the cast of hair colors for women. Although Freddie Prinze Jr. was clearly very, very blonde as Fred, but they apparently, since he's a guy, it didn't matter. As you can see here, we got her collar on, we got the skirt on, we got her legs, her hands. All the basic stuff is done. Then I got to texture up her sweater and all that stuff, and I just a little bit of black shading, because I got to put my shading on everything. I love spotting my blacks. It's my favorite part of drawing anything. Hopefully by the Wolverine video, my throat will be totally cleared up, and you guys won't have to hear my voice crack every minute and a half, because I'm sure it's going to get annoying eventually. It's annoying for me right now because I got to put up with it, but I'm sure listening to it isn't all that much fun either. So again, sorry. I've been to a few concerts in my day, and I always buy like if they have one, a cool screen printed poster. You know, I got some dating back years, and it's something that I've collected. You know, because I don't really buy band T-shirts anymore. And I was also in a band that I made flyers for shows, and I made flyers for other people, and I used to make, you know, invitations and party things. It was just part of my job. And I think I mentioned in the last video that I want to start adding some design elements to some of the drawings, like almost make them like cool little posters. And I didn't start thinking about this till after I finished Velma, but she would have been a really cool one because, you know, she got the catchphrase Jinkies and all the other fun things, and it would have made a cool little text thing, and I could have put a more of a burst behind her and maybe gave her more of a shock look than a cool smart girl look looking off to the side. But I might do that with the Spider-Punk I'm drawing, because I really didn't get too crazy with him either. He's just kind of standing there. I don't know why. That's what I felt like doing with Spider-Punk. I just wanted to draw the costume, really, more than I wanted to draw the character. And he's fun, so, you know, I just kind of had him standing there, and I didn't want to get too crazy with it. But I am going to do some fun things with the colors. That's going to be the fun thing with him. That's another reason why I just kind of did him standing there, so I didn't have to think too much, because I'm going to, you know, kind of get bright and annoying with the colors, kind of like Spider-Verse. Because, you know, I love my Ben-Day dots and stuff like that, so what better way to put them to use than drawing Spider-Punk? So I might actually throw some text on there and make it look like a poster, but we shall see. With all this coughing and throat issue stuff, I fell a little bit behind on my drawing schedule, so I gotta catch up. So we'll see what time allows, but I think he would be the perfect one to turn into like a cool little rock poster, so I really want to do that. And on that thought, we are done penciling Velma, and now we need to ink her up. The inks actually take a little while on this one, you know, just for the little things like the texture in the sweater and the wrinkles on her skirt and all that fun stuff. But they don't take too long. Okay, tangents over. Back to Scooby-Doo 2002. So the movie starts out with the Mystery Gang in like an old toy factory, doll factory, I think. And they're trying to solve a mystery. There's a ghost that floats and bounces, and of course, it has Daphne. Because Daphne, they go with a stereotype for each of the gang. So Freddy, he's the arrogant one who takes credit for everything. Daphne, she's the damsel in distress, always getting captured. Scooby and Shaggy are the stupid stoners who carry the bags. And Velma's the smart one who figures everything out. So Daphne's caught by the ghost jumping around the factory. Velma has the plan. And of course, things go awry, because they always do. And, you know, the ghost ends up chasing Scooby and Shaggy, and Velma gets caught up in her own trap, and so does Fred. But at the end of the day, it all works out, and they catch the ghost, and it's like the janitor or something, because the owner of the factory was Pamela Anderson, and she was trying to make some dolls for some charity thing, and the janitor was in love with her, and she wouldn't give him the time of day, so he started the whole ghost factory thing. So after they catch the ghost, the press shows up, because apparently Mr. Inc. and the Mystery Gang, I forgot what they call them in the movie, but I'm pretty sure they've been called both. The press shows up, and of course Fred steps out and takes credit for all the good stuff and how they caught him and everything, and that of course upsets Velma, because it was her plan and she figured everything out, and Daphne's mad because she's the damsel in distress. And Shaggy and Scooby just kind of try to warm things over, but kind of put their foots in their mouth at the same time. And Velma quits. And Fred can't have her one up him, so Fred says, "No, I quit." And then Daphne's like, "No, I quit." And it just falls apart. And the Mystery Gang goes their separate ways, mostly because, you know, Fred's kind of a jerk, and he takes credit for things he shouldn't, and he doesn't spread the accolades throughout the group. He just kind of hogs the spotlight for himself. And Velma doesn't like that because she did most of the work. And so they go their separate ways. Mystery Inc. is no more. And then it goes to Scooby and Shaggy on a beach living their best lives. There's a lot of smoke coming out of the Mystery Machine. It's shaking. So you assume they're in there getting high or something. But no, 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 no. They're just making sandwiches because this is a PG-13 movie, not the rated R movie that James Gunn wanted. And a guy shows up, and they're like, no, we don't do that stuff no more. We don't go any place with spooky in the name. We don't solve mysteries. We just living our best lives on the beach, man. Leave us alone. And, you know, the guy tells them they'll get unlimited food if they go to this island and help solve this crime. So, of course, Scooby and Shaggy are not going to turn down free food. So they're in. And, by the way, the mystery's on Spooky Island, I think it's called. And, you know, something's happening there. And they want the mystery gang to solve the problem. So they get to the airport, and you see Velma's there, and Velma runs into Fred's like, hey, weird seeing you here, what's going on? Then they run into Daphne, it's like, hey, this isn't a coincidence. And then Scooby and Shag show up, and like, we're being set up. Somebody wants us all in the same place for some reason. And they're not going to go, and they're going to take off, because they're all still mad at each other, but Scooby and Shaggy convince them to go, even though they're not too happy about it. And they get on the plane to head to Spooky Island. And on the plane, Shaggy meets Isla Fisher, Mary Jane, and they hit it off. And she's eating Scooby snacks, which is awesome because, you know, you can't have a Scooby-Doo movie without Scooby snacks. So they get to the island, and they're greeted by Rowan Atkinson, which we're just going to call him Mr. Bean throughout the rest of this because that's what we all know him as, Mr. Bean. And I think it was in that show Blackadder, but I never watched it, so we're sticking with Mr. Bean. So Mr. Bean meets them, and he's like, oh, thank you for coming, because there's things going on this island, and I need help because I love these kids, and I want them to have a good time, and that's why this place exists, but something's not right here. And they're like, what do you mean? It looks fine. Kids are partying, having a good time. He's like, yes, those are the kids coming in, but look at the kids leaving. And the kids leaving are just very stiff and quiet and well-mannered and perfectly behaved. And one of the girl in the front of the line, somebody runs up to her, it's like, hey, who just got off the boat, hey, whatever your name is, remember me? We went to school together. And she's like, leave me alone. And he's like, yeah, but we're buddies, you know, we've known each other all our lives. And she just picks him up and throws him super strength, like he's a complete stranger, and how dare you talk to me, you miscreant. And, you know, so she's very serious, and he's just a normal 90s party dude. And you can't explain that more than the musical band in the movie is Sugar Ray. But we'll get to that later. So like, yeah, that's really weird. So, since they still don't like each other, they split up and they go looking for clues. So the gang, they're all split up and they're in the lobby of the hotel. And the hotel lobby has a bar and they're talking to people. And Velma's talking to this guy. And he asks her about herself. And she talks about, you know, the heyday of the mystery gang and how they were on this mystery, and it was her and Fred and Daphne and Scooby and Shaggy, but there was one more member of the gang, Scrappy-Doo. But Scrappy-Doo was a bigger jerk than Fred will ever be, and he's like peeing on Daphne to mark his territory, and he was loud and obnoxious, and he finally got on everybody's last nerve, and they threw him out of the Mystery Machine. The Mystery Machine's their van, coolest van in cartoon history, and it's way cooler than the A-Team van, even though that's not a cartoon van, but that doesn't really matter, because we don't get to see much of the Mystery Machine outside the intro in this flashback scene, because they're on an island. Although the Mystery Machine, it's kind of like, what kind of van is the Mystery Machine? Because I always thought it was like a Volkswagen bus. And then later in life, like, oh, maybe not a Volkswagen bus. Maybe it was like one of those 70s Dodge Econo van things. And I think it's more likely that that's what the Mystery Machine was. But in the movie, it's just your regular old, 90s Chevy or Ford van painted up to look like the Mystery Machine. It's still cool, but I think if they used a classic Dodge van or something, it would have been way cooler. So she's telling the guy the story, and they kick out Scrappy, which is kind of foreshadowing, because we haven't seen or heard anything about Scrappy-Doo yet, so why would she mention him? So we're foreshadowing things to come there. And so they go about their business. And I think Daphne is the first one to get there. She talks to somebody. Oh, yeah, she talks to a guy on a beach who's doing voodoo stuff. And he tells her, whatever you do, don't go to that castle up on the hill. That place is haunted and creepy. And stay out of there. So she does. Oh, so you want me to go there? He's like, which part of me telling you not to go there do you not understand? Stay away from that place. Like, oh, so you telling me not to go there means that of course I'm gonna go there because you're telling me that I shouldn't, which means that I should. It's a little funny moment. I enjoyed it. So of course she doesn't listen to the guy who really meant not to go there. The place is haunted and creepy. So she goes. And of course the place is haunted and creepy. And they all kind of meet up there because, Velma figures out that she should go there because it's the only part of the park that's closed and under renovation. So of course, if you're going to have a hideout, that would be the place to use. And Fred found it. I forgot how Fred found it, but he found it another way. And Scooby and Shaggy, I think they followed Daphne. I could be wrong about that, but it doesn't really matter. They all end up there. And while they're looking around, Daphne finds this triangle thing that she hears somebody call. Oh, I snapped my knuckle there, sorry. That she heard somebody call the Damon-ritis. So that's your MacGuffin. And then Fred and Velma find kind of like a TV studio that plays a movie. And the movie is, telling you how kids behave. And, it goes through how they behave and how they should behave. And they figure out that this place is like a brainwashing facility. So they're kind of getting to where they need to go. And, of course, there's like a little short person. Can you say midget? Is midget still a thing? Short person? Well, anyway, there's a short person. And he pushes a button, sets off an alarm, and these creatures start coming after the mystery gang. And chase them around the place and make a mess. And they almost capture Daphne, but she gets away because she's a kung fu expert now. Not really. Well, she is, but, we don't get to that to the end of the movie because they kind of make a joke out. Like, aha, whatever, Daphne. You're going to get caught and we're going to have to save you. So they all get away, and they got the Damon-ritis thing. And Velma, they're back at the hotel thing, and she's trying to figure out what it is. And then these monsters attack, and they all think, oh, they're just people in costumes. But no, they're real monsters, and they capture everybody except for Scooby and Shaggy. And Scooby and Shaggy get away, and they get away with Mary Jane, but while they're driving away on these quads, Scooby's on one, Shaggy's on another with Mary Jane. Mary Jane's face gets hit with a tree. And turns out she's one of the monsters in disguise, and Scooby sees it, but Shaggy doesn't. So when they get to, safety, Scooby tries to tell Shaggy, hey, she's a monster. You gotta believe me. And he's like, oh, Scooby, you're just jealous. And they get into a little fight, and Scooby falls down a hole, but Shaggy still says he's my best friend. I gotta help him. She's like, no, don't go help him, because she wants to catch him and take his soul, because that's what's going on here. The Damon-ritis thing is used to steal souls, and the monsters need the bodies of the kids so that they could exist in the sunlight, because they explode in sunlight, and so that's the whole thing. And so Shaggy goes to save his best friend, and kind of leaves Mary Jane up at the top, which is kind of weird because I think you would have brought her with him because it's not safe to be out. But anyway, doesn't matter. But as we can see, the inks are actually starting to look pretty good, and we're almost done with them. I just make this hand a little smaller and some little tweaks here and there. But yeah. In fact, I really, really like these inks. They're one of my favorite set of inks that I've done so far for this. They're not the most complicated. They don't have the most interesting line work and everything, but they're just nice and simple, and they do their job. And sometimes that's all you need. So anyway, back to the story. So now they're all underground, and what the heck happens? Something happens with the Shaggy finds a pot full of all the souls of the kids that were stolen, and he's reaching in and he pulls out Daphne first, and he throws it. You got to go back to your body. And then he throws out Velma. I did Velma first, then Daphne, then Fred. And Velma goes to the right body, but Daphne and Fred get mixed up, so Daphne's in Fred, and Velma's in Daphne's body, and then they got the Damon-ritis, and then there's a funny scene where all the souls keep jumping between bodies, and they get each other's voices. And of course, Fred's a little horn dog. He's like, all right, I could look at myself naked. And it's like, it's early 2000s humor. You get away with that back then. And then after they get their bodies in the right place, they go to the cave, and they find, what's his name? Mr. Bean. They find Mr. Bean. But it turns out Mr. Bean is a robot. And he brought them there because they need the soul of a pure being. Oh, sorry. The inks are done. And now we need to color Velma. As you see, the colors aren't all that complicated either. I didn't really go for any crazy highlights. I did put some blue in her glasses and everything. And yeah, so let's get to the coloring. So yeah, so Mr. Bean is a robot body, and the real villain inside is Scrappy-Doo. Because he needed the pure soul, and the pure soul is Scooby-Doo, so that he could become a super demon and take over the world. And then the other demon henchmen would help him, but they need the bodies of the kids and everything to do sunlight. So they all get into a big fight, and they tip over the soul jar, and the souls start flying into all the people, and Scrappy-Doo becomes a big, giant monster. And he's going after the mystery gang, and in the end, they pull the daemonitis out of his chest, and the souls escape and go back to their own bodies, and Mystery Inc. solves another mystery and saves the day again. And they decide it's cool working together, but at the end, of course, the press shows up. And Fred starts taking credit for everything, but then he's like, no, you know what? We're a team. So he's like, Velma, you take it from here. And Velma finally gets to give up the summary. And Mr. Inc. saves the day. Scrappy goes to jail. Scrappy-Doo. And that's it. That's Scooby-Doo. And I would tell you about the sequel if I had a chance to watch it, but I didn't. So sorry about that. But as you can see here, the colors, they're, I say that all the time, but as you can see here, yeah, the colors, they're coming together fairly quick, you know, because I'm just spotting in the main colors here, the brown over here, the sweater's already in, the fleshy color for her face, and all that fun stuff. The background was, I wasn't sure what to do, and I keep using the same paint stroke thing, so I got to get on it and make some of my own new backgrounds, because I can't keep using variations of the same thing over and over again. So that's going to be on my list for this weekend for real, because I'll definitely have time to do it. But yeah, I like the background, the green, you know, it plays off of the red and the orange because they're opposites on the color wheel and all that stuff. Christmas, you know, complementary colors and clash. And I forget all the terms for color theory, it's been so long. But I remember mostly how it works, so that's the important thing. If you know what colors go with what, and what you could bang together, and you know you could also cheat, which I do sometimes. I'm like, you know, blue's supposed to go with this color, but it doesn't look that good. But I'll throw blue behind it, then just pull out the hue saturation and play with the sliders till you find the look of the color that you like best. And sometimes that's just the way to go. Because, you know, color theory is cool and all, but you don't have to follow those rules. Like on Spider-Punk, I'm probably going to throw like fluorescent colors behind them. And that's definitely like, oof. That's like straight up 90s obnoxiousness instead of, you know, solid color theory. But that's how something like that works, and you got to go with it. You know, you got to follow the design language and style of who you're working with. So Spider-Punk's going to be obnoxiously bright. But not so much Velma. She's just a cartoon character from the 60s and 70s. And I remember watching Scooby-Doo as a kid, and they always had like fun guest appearances. Like, there's one where they meet Batman and Robin, and that was a fun one, even though don't ask me what happened in it, because I haven't seen these things since I was a kid, or my son was a kid. There's one where they meet the Harlem Globetrotters. Fun story. A kid I went to college with, art school. His grandfather owned the team that plays the Harlem Globetrotters. I forgot their name. The Washington somethings. So he would get free tickets to all the Globetrotters games that were in Madison Square Garden when we were going to school in New Jersey. And I was always invited, but it was always on weekends where I had to go home, so I was never able to go. His name was Courtney. And he had the coolest computer setup, because this is in the 90s, and computers cost a freaking fortune. And it's right before the debut of the original IMAX, the candy color ones, which I did get one when they came out. But he had, you know, the top of the line Mac, and he had this really cool printer, which I wish I could find, because printers nowadays, they don't print white, they don't print gold, they don't print silver, they don't print varnishes. But he had, I'm 90% sure it was an Epson printer. It was just a regular printer. I don't think it did 11 by 17 or oversized, just at 8.5 by 11. But it had an extra cartridge slot where you could put white ink in it or gold ink in it, or silver ink or a specialty color, or a gloss varnish or a matte garnish. And you could also print like full color on like colored cardstocks or black cardstocks, because you could put a white underlayer and then print the color on top of it. The thing was cool. And I've been looking for a printer like that ever since, because I would like to print on dark things. I would like to make my own poster prints or my own decals. And the only thing I find are these things called Alps printers that they don't make anymore, and they're like this Japanese thing, and you gotta buy them used, and you need old technology to run them. It's a mess. But yeah, so if anybody knows how to get a printer like that that's not a DTG or a UG printer, let me know. Or Co, if you ever see this video, send me a message and tell me what that was so I can find one. Because I will buy an ancient Mac to run it. I do not care. I need one of those in my life. So yeah, Scooby-Doo was a fun show. The cartoon, because when I was a kid, they just had the original ones. I think it started in '69, and there was another batch of them in the '70s and all that stuff. And it always had like the monster of the week, where, it was always somebody in a rubber mask, and they pulled the mask off. And I remember I was watching Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, my favorite Star Trek movie. And I always laugh at the end because it has a Scooby-Doo ending. The movie's all serious and stuff. Klingon politics, it's kind of relating to the Cold War and the relationships with communism and everything, the fall of communism in Russia and all that stuff. But at the end, the assassin turns out to be wearing a mask, and it's a Klingon in a human mask. Admiral Cartwright, I think, who later went on to play Joseph Sisko, Benjamin Sisko's father, captain of the greatest Star Trek show ever, Deep Space Nine. So that was interesting. So I always laugh because it had the Scooby-Doo ending, because, he's wearing a mask, and they pulled the mask off to reveal the real assassin, and the assassin was, straight up Scooby-Doo. And for such a serious movie, I always thought that was hilarious. Sorry for the super nerd rant on Star Trek, but someday I'll draw Benjamin Sisko and lose half my audience. But I love that show, and I won't apologize for it. You want to see the best sci-fi show ever written? Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I will die on that hill. So yesterday, on my shorts, I came to the part in the All Might video where I was talking about how I got a negative followers for a day and how it didn't happen in a long time. And that one short got me like 8 new followers, and people were like, "We got you, let's go, guy. Sorry that happened." And I ended up with a plus 12 followers for the day, which that hasn't happened in a while either. So sorry that I was complaining, but apparently that works, and I'm not going to do that in every video. I just want to say thank you, everybody who actually followed me and gave me words of encouragement and kept me going. I needed to hear that, so thank you. Yep, every time YouTube slaps me down, you guys pick me back up, so it's kind of awesome. We have almost a little community going, and I'm glad that we're getting a little bigger. And it feels awesome knowing that we're growing a little community here, so it's cool. Like, somebody told me they actually drew a picture along with All Might the other day. They drew him in his base human form, and that was cool. So somebody was actually inspired to draw watching one of the videos. And if you look a little back, I put little pink circles on Velma's cheeks and her ears and her tip of her nose and her knuckles. And then I blurred them out a little and faded them so she would look a little more natural. And it works best with women characters, but you can do it to guys too. It makes the look a little more fleshy and a little more real, even on darker skinned drawings and people. It works with that too. And with that, Velma is done. So thank you all for stopping by and spending another drawing with me. Like, subscribe, and all that other fun stuff. I'll see you next week, and go out and draw something.